All right, and it's 10 o'clock. Let me quickly confirm that a quorum is present. Okay, it appears we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Steph. Before I turn it over to the chair, just wanted to say a few quick words. So this morning, our chair and vice chair are not able to attend the meeting. RJ might be able to attend a little bit later on, but I've asked Jason Hafner from the town of Gilbert to step in the chair position and help us run the meeting today. So thank you, Mr. Hafner, and I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Tim. Good morning to the members of the MAG Transportation Review Committee. This meeting is now called to order at 10:01 a.m. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
All right, thank you. I will do the roll call alphabetical by member agency, starting with Ted Wolf, Apache Junction. Clem Lagaki as proxy for Paul Patanay with ADOT.
I'm here.
Thank you. Raj Thowdam from City of Avondale. Scott Zipprich, City of Buckeye.
Present.
Thank you. Hal Marin, Town of Cave Creek.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Crampton, City of Chandler.
Here.
Thanks, Jason. Jorge Gastelum, City of El Mirage.
Here.
Thank you. Romer Truly, FHWA.
Here.
Thank you. Christopher Salas, Town of Florence. David Janover, Town of Fountain Hills.
I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Hafner, you are present. Shahid Abbas from City of Glendale.
Present, please.
Thank you. Bob Thaxton, Town of Guadalupe. Mitch Wagner as proxy for Steve Wilcox with McDOT.
Present.
Thank you. Shar Johnson, Town of Paradise Valley.
I'm here.
Thank you, Shar. Adina Lund, City of Peoria.
Here.
Joseph Brown, City of Phoenix. Albert Garcia as proxy for Eric Boyles, City of Surprise.
Present.
Thank you. Chase Wallman as proxy for Shelley Seiler, City of Tempe.
Present.
Thank you. Grant Anderson.
Here.
Thank you. Is there anyone I missed during the roll call?
Yes, Scott Nodes from the city of Maricopa.
Oh, Scott Nodes.
And Mark Melnichenko from Scottsdale.
Mark, okay, gotcha. Mark
Thaxton, Town of Guadalupe.
Bob Thaxton.
Mohammed Yusuf, Town of Queen Creek.
Okay, anybody else?
Mohammed Yusuf, Town of Queen Creek.
Oh,
Did you
I
hear
got
me?
you. I got you,
Okay.
Mohammed. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And let me just quickly confirm. All right, we do have a quorum. We can proceed.
Thanks, Beth. Our next item is the call to the audience. MAG provides the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. Members of the public are invited to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with committee members in advance of the meeting and will be included in the meeting minutes. Staff, have we received any online written comments for the call to the audience?
Mr. Chair, we did receive one written comment that was provided to the committee ahead of time. And no public comments were received for any items on the agenda.
Thank you, Steph. Moving right along. The next item is the MAG Transportation Policy and Planning Director's Report. Mr. Stroh will provide that report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Hafner. Good morning, members of the Transportation Review Committee. Hope everybody's doing well and had a great Thanksgiving and is getting ready for the holidays coming up. I'd like to start by welcoming to the committee Scott Nodes, City Traffic Engineer, representing the City of Maricopa. We also have joining, but he's not in attendance today, Joseph Brown, Phoenix Street Transportation Director. I think he's new to the Valley, so hopefully he'll be able to attend at the January committee meeting. I have a few updates this morning. One of them is at the last TRC meeting, I mentioned that we have a open survey and interactive comment map for the I-10 tunnel to split corridor study. The survey has been extended until December 22nd. So if you have not already filled out the survey or passed it around in your jurisdiction, please do so. You can go and visit the survey at azmag.gov/I-10 corridor study. Please reach out to me after the meeting if you have any questions on that. My next item is regarding a reminder that the Arizona Department of Transportation Local Public Agency section issued a call for projects for the off-system bridge program for state fiscal year 2025. I mentioned this the last TRC meeting. Patrick Stone sent out a memo to the Streets Committee, copied this committee and InterGovs, letting them know of this opportunity. He also attached the ADOT criteria and guidelines associated with that call. As a reminder, all applications must be submitted through MAG. If your agency plans to submit, please have the application into Patrick Stone by tomorrow, Friday, December 15th, 2023. Additional information can be found on the MAG website on the TIP modal application site. And as usual, please reach out to Patrick Stone if you have any questions on this item. Next item is another reminder to the committee that Patrick Stone presented at the last TRC meeting about the new federal grants webpage hosted on the MAG TIP website. This is a fantastic resource for our member agencies. The grant sites lists all the federal grants that are open, provides background on eligible project types, matching funds, deadlines, and other items. We also provide a link where you can request a letter of support from MAG, or you can sign up for email updates. The grant resource is on the MAG tip page, and please reach out to Patrick and his team with any questions. RARF-HERF update. RARF collections were 5.2% higher than November the previous year, which is great news. And HERF collections were 4.5% higher than November the previous year. I expect both of those positives to continue for the remainder of the year. My last item, Mr. Hafner, is at the November Regional Council Executive Committee meeting. Steve Wilcox, representing Maricopa County, was approved as the next TRC Vice Chair. So congratulations to Steve. So starting January 1st, Chris Bridges, representing the city of Goodyear, will ascend to the chair position, and Steve Wilcox will become the vice chair. I did want to thank RJ's not in attendance today, but I did want to thank him for his chair duties over the last 2 years. You know, I know it takes a lot of time and effort, and his leadership was critical for the success of this committee over the last 2 years. So I truly, truly appreciate that. The next slide is I was gonna give him a certificate today. We're gonna mail it to him. I'm gonna reach out to him, but I'm looking forward to RJ continuing to participate on this committee moving forward. Mr. Hafner, that completes my update.
Thank you, Mr. Stroh. Hopefully the new chair, Mr. Bridges, deigns to join us for our next meeting. And congratulations to Steve Wilcox. Everybody, our next item is the approval of the consent agenda. Items 4A and 4B are on the consent agenda. Does any member of the committee have questions or request a presentation on either of these items? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve consent items 4A and 4B?
Anderson, I so move.
This is Dave Janover. I second.
We have a motion from Mr. Anderson and a second from Mr. Janover. We will have those participating in the meeting online to take part in a voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. This is to speed up the voting process. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their cameras. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Yes, Mr. Hafner, just a couple of people to call on. Actually, I think just one, which is Bob Thaxton.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That does it. The motion passes unanimously.
Beautiful. Item 5 will be presented by MAG Transportation Safety and Operations Program Manager Margaret Herrera. Hey, Margaret. This item is on the agenda for recommendation of approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hafner. Good morning, members of the Transportation Review Committee. MAG has, slide please. MAG initiated the traffic signal optimization program back in 2004. And since then, we've completed about 120 projects that involve over 12,000 signalized intersections. The technical assistance that's provided helps to improve traffic signal coordination, and it enables optimization and review of operations. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, we received 15 applications from 9 MAG member agencies. The corridors that were proposed associated with about 192 total signalized intersections for a total of about nearly $672,000 against the total amount available of $500,000. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, this is a slide that may look familiar to you. This TSOP prioritization tool was presented to the Transportation Review Committee back in October. At that time was taken action. The prioritization tool and the elements herein, the quantitative as well as the qualitative criteria, was approved at Regional Council on November 29th. So we move forward with the evaluation. MAG staff actually pulled information or data from the applications that were provided to MAG. In addition to that, members of the ITS committee did their evaluations that was based on the 4 qualitative questions that you see here. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the resulting list that combined both the quantitative and qualitative ranks from that effort into a final score. You see here the prioritized listing for the fiscal year 2024 TSOP projects. Next slide, please. So one of the things I really like to do is highlight one of the projects that was submitted. This Avondale project happens to be the #1 ranked project. And you can see here there's 8 intersections that are included in this traffic signal optimization program project. And you can see as well that this one will require 4 different timing plans. Sometimes they, want to have timing plans not just during the peak hour, but also sometimes for some of the off-peak times or during weekends. So that's why you see there can be more than one signal timing plan that's developed for these projects at a time. So next slide, please. So with that concludes my presentation, and the request here that we're asking is to recommend approval of the prioritized listing of fiscal year 2024 traffic signal optimization program projects and the proposed funding scenario. Thank you. Mr. Hafner?
Great job, Margaret. Thank you. Do any members have any questions or comments for Margaret? Hearing none, is there a motion for recommendation of approval for agenda item number 5?
I move the motion to.
Go ahead.
I move the motion to approve agenda item number 5 for traffic signal optimization projects.
This is Scott Notes. I second the proposal, the motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion from Shahid and a second from Mr. Nodes. We will have those participating in the meeting online now take a part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Absolutely. Bob Thaxton, how do you vote? All right, not hearing a nay. This motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, staff. Moving on to item number 6. Item number 6 will be presented by MAG Transportation Planner Brian Rubin. This item is on the agenda for recommendation of approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hafner. Members of the TRC, I'm pleased to be here today to present our regional transit asset management targets for you. Next slide, please. It's been almost a year since we've presented to this committee on TAM, so I thought I'd give a brief refresher. The Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century Act, better known as MAP 21, directed the FTA to issue new asset management requirements for grant recipients. It outlined that all recipients of Chapter 53 federal funds that own, operate, or manage capital assets need to have a TAM plan. It further laid out the details of what is in the plan, including the people, processes, and outcomes. Here at MAG, we don't need to develop a full-blown TAM plan for the region, but we do need to set regional TAM targets, which is why I'm here talking to you today. Next slide, please. TAM is split into Tier 1 and Tier 2 agencies. In our region, we've got 4 Tier 1 agencies responsible for developing and carrying out the TAM plans. These agencies are Valley Metro RPTA, Valley Metro Light Rail, City of Phoenix, and the City of Tempe. Tier 2 agencies have the option of either developing their own TAM plan or participating in a group TAM plan. Next slide, please. Finally, TAM requires that we set and measure performance targets annually for these 4 categories. Rolling stock and equipment, which are measured in the age of the asset, and facilities and infrastructure, which are rated on a 5-point scale. The chart on the left is an example of the guidance provided by FTA showing the useful life benchmarks for different types of vehicles, excuse me. Now, before I move to the next slide, I do just want to reiterate that I have the privilege to be presenting the hard work of others here. My colleagues at the Tier 1 transit agencies are the ones who are in the trenches doing the work. I couldn't be here to present this to you today without Wendy and Eric at Valley Metro, Carl at the City of Phoenix, and Tony at the City of Tempe. Next slide, please. Presented here are the fiscal year 24 TAM targets. To help provide you some context, we're presenting the percentage as well as the actual numbers. I understand that this chart's really a lot to take in all at once, but the general take here is that we're in pretty good shape overall. Next slide, please. So here you can see how our percentages are changing from last year. Green shows an improved target, and red shows where we have increased our percentage. You'll note a few interesting tidbits. One under cutaway buses, where, like last year, we have improved our target, and another under equipment and 8-year autos, where we see a stark increase. Additionally, we have a few new categories this year, including steel-wheeled vehicles. Once again, I think the percentages aren't the full story here, so we've included a comparison of the actual numbers in question. Next slide, please. Now, looking at those 2 categories again from the previous slide, we can see that our cutaway bus target has improved because we've purchased 4 new vehicles and retired 3 vehicles no longer fit for service. And we also see that 4 of our 8 vehicles in the 8-year auto will exceed their useful benchmark this fiscal year. Next slide, please. I like to finish these up with next steps or action items. We do have a TAM working group consisting of the Tier 1 agencies that meets annually. And that's a process we intend to continue moving forward. That group has already done some outstanding work bringing these targets together, and we'll continue to refine the process. As always, we'll be back here next year with you to present these targets once again. Next slide, please. Mr. Hafner, this item is on the agenda today for action. That completes my presentation today, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Chair, you were muted.
I was the fourth choice, don't forget. Great job, Brian. Thank you. Do any members have any questions or comments for Brian? Hearing none, is there a motion for recommendation of approval for agenda item number 6?
So moved.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you. We have a motion from Shahid and a second from Anderson. We will now have those participating in the meeting online take part in a voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting the audio. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Staff, can you please take a roll call of the members participating virtually who chose not to turn on their cameras?
Yes, thank you. Bob Thaxton, how do you vote?
Sorry about that. Yay.
Yay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Hafner, this motion passes unanimously.
Great, thanks, staff. Item number 7 will be presented by MAG Transportation Funding Program Manager, Mr. Patrick Stone. This item is on the agenda for recommendation of approval. Mr. Stone?
Thank you, Mr. Hafner, members of the Transportation Review Committee. Pleasure to be here today to present this item. One more, please. Thank you. So as always, I like to start with the policy that guides the closeout process, which in this case is the Federal Fund Programming Guidelines and Procedures, approved by MAG Regional Council back in June of 2015. And of note, the section 500.4 shown on the screen, which notates that TRC will consider the priorities for redistribution of the funding and is the basis for my presentation and the action being considered here today. Next slide, please. So a critical component of closeout is ensuring all federal funds allocated to the region are obligated. And where the funding comes from, it's a variety of sources. So this includes both project deferrals, as well as current year project savings, and also where we've had adjustments from projections. Next slide, please. So this slide highlights, the non-life cycle programs that are part of our sub-allocated federal funding. These are those programs where they're eligible for closeout funding and where they submit those requests. Next slide, please. So for fiscal year 2024, here's a highlight of what the process looks like for this year. On the left, you see the types of projects being considered for funding. And on the right is a breakdown of actually where the funding comes from. We start with the funding sub-allocated to the region, take out those items already programmed in the TIP, which allows us to determine how much closeout funding we have. As you see on the slide, the proposed amount is less than the available funding, which leaves us just under $2 million after closeout process, which may be rolled forward into fiscal year 2025 for use. Next slide, please. So what I wanted to really emphasize here, and I don't think it's a surprise, is a detailed breakout of the requests. As you can see at the bottom of the slide, we did receive 34 requests this year for just over $36.5 million. Given the ongoing economic considerations, it's not shocking that the largest number of requests and the largest amount of funding is to deal with projects that have a current year shortfall. As you can see, 17 requests were received for just over $25 million worth of funding. Next slide, please. And with that, Mr. Hafner, members of the TRC, that concludes my presentation. I'd be available for any questions. Thank you.
Great job, Patrick. Do any members have any questions or comments? Quiet group today. Is there a motion for recommendation of approval for agenda item number 7?
I'll move to Jason
Cal Marin, second.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a motion from Mr. Cranston and a second from Mr. Marin. We will now have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Thank you. Steph, can you please take a roll call vote of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Yes, absolutely. Looks like there was just one, and looks like Mr. Joseph Brown from Phoenix has been able to join us. Mr. Brown, how do you vote? Oh, we see you, can't quite hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had a meeting with the mayor and it ran a little bit late. And I appreciate it. I didn't hear the whole presentation, so it probably would be appropriate for me to vote yay or nay. Probably better to abstain, on this.
All right, absolutely.
Having seen the whole presentation, but it's a pleasure to meet everybody. Sorry to jump in the middle of your meeting.
That's okay. Thank you for being here. We're happy to have you. Mr. Hafner, this motion passes unanimously.
Perfect. Welcome, Mr. Brown. Item 8 is the next item on the agenda, and item 8 will be presented by MEG Transportation Analyst Steph Stearns. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion only.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hafner. Happy to be here today to present this for information. I will start off with, let's see, can we get next slide, please? Thank you. Just a review of what the Prop 400 report is. It's an annual report required by state statute on the status of the implementation of projects that were identified in Prop 400. It covers the 3 modal lifecycle programs, the freeway, arterial, and transit lifecycle program, addressing project status, financing, and the outlook for implementation. The report considers revenue projections for both the half-cent sales tax and federal funds that go into Prop 400. So shown here on the screen are the half-cent sales tax projections for the remainder of the program, which is through December 31st, 2025. Our future half-cent revenues for this period are forecasted to total $2 billion. And as you can see by the bar chart on the screen, the projections that were done for the 2023 report were slightly higher than the 2022 report. If I could get next, please. Thank you. Moving on to federal funds. So we do also consider federal funds, which are projected to come in at $687.4 million over the remainder of the program. You'll notice here in the pie chart in this blue teal kind of colors, they're both FTA funds, and they take up a pretty significant chunk of our federal funding. This is because the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or the IIJA, provided historic increases to FTA funds nationwide, so we are not the only people seeing this. Next slide, please. Thank you. I'll now get into each of the 3 modal lifecycle programs and their accomplishments over the past fiscal year, starting with the Freeway Lifecycle Program. We did have 3 projects complete: the I-10 Papago, SR-85 to Verrado Way, SR-24 Ellsworth to Ironwood. Those are both pretty significant projects. And then SR-202, the Loop 202 Lindsay Road. Many projects were underway. I won't go through all of them, but some of the significant ones are the Broadway Curve, the 43rd and 51st Avenue interchanges off of the 303 up by the TSMC development, and then I-17 from Anthem Way up to the Yavapai County line. Next slide, please. Thank you. Moving on to the Arterial Lifecycle Program. Over the past year, we had many more projects than are shown on the screen were in various stages of development. Some of the ones that we'll highlight as completed were Northern Parkway, Dysart Road and El Mirage Road overpasses. That's actually the top photo here shown on the slide. And then this bottom photo is the Southern Avenue and Stapley Drive intersection, which was also completed. A few other projects are noted as underway, but like I said, many more projects than just these few were in various stages of development. Next, please. And moving on to the Transit Lifecycle Program, which is really split up into two categories between bus and rail. So on the bus side, there were routes 61 and Route 77 were extended. And I'll also just note a little caveat here that this is only for Prop 400 funded service. So Valley Metro and City Phoenix have done much more than this. These are just the routes that are Prop 400 funded that did have an extension. And then the region does support vehicle purchases through Prop 400. So 125 vehicles were purchased. This includes both expansion and replacement vehicles for the bus and paratransit system. And then moving on to the rail side, over the past year, we had a couple of big projects underway. Those are the South Central Extension and Downtown Hub, as well as the Northwest Extension Phase 2. Next slide, please. So now I'll zoom out and talk about Prop 400 and the accomplishments of the program since its inception. So we've had 422 corridor miles of freeway highway projects, totaling over $7.8 billion invested. 252 corridor miles of arterial projects totaling over 1.1 billion invested. And then 118 million bus transit revenue miles totaling $5.2 billion invested. Next slide, please. So looking forward, MAG staff will continue to review program cost estimates. We will make adjustments as needed, and we look forward to November of 2024, where Proposition 479 will be on the ballot, and that is the Prop 400 extension. Next slide, please. Mr. Hafner, members of the committee, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Great job, Steph. Thanks. Do any members have any questions or comments? Okay, this item was just for information and discussion, so no action is required on it. Thanks again, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Sorry. Next item on the agenda is member agency updates. Do any members have any updates for the committee? Sounds like everybody's anxious to start their holiday break. Hearing none, the next item on the agenda is request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by committee members for an item on a future agenda? All right, I guess that's the adjournment. The next meeting of the TRC will be on Thursday, January 25th, 2024 at 10 a.m. With no further business, today's meeting is adjourned at 10:32 a.m. Thank you all.